Want to skip the small talk and get into the heart of it? So do we. Life isn't about perfection, it's about connection. And together, we're building healthy relationships, one conversation at a time. This is Say It Here. Hello, and welcome to Say It Here, where it's not about perfection.
It's about connection. I'm Judy Franco.
And I'm Corey Adjmi. And our episode today is about the most interesting topic, and we have just the perfect guest to tell you about it. We're going to be talking about emotional regression with John Lee. John is the author of the book, Growing Yourself Back Up, Understanding Emotional Regression. And he is a celebrated author, pioneer in the mental health space. He's been on Oprah, NPR, PBS.
He's been everywhere.
CNN. He's been interviewed by the New York Times, Newsweek, and so much more. And we really can't wait to hear from him.
So excited. And if I can just add this, Corey, in John's book, which I devoured over the weekend, he explores a really revolutionary idea. For those of you who have not heard of John, you must be living under a rock. But if you have not, this idea is that when we adults experience something that's seemingly uncontrollable, that feeling could indicate that we are regressing. It's a regression to our childhood experiences. Am I saying that correctly, John? Please correct me if I'm...
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all for having me. And yeah, you got it. Now, I'll make one little correction.
Good, do.
If I might, is that it's most often that we return to childhood. But we can return to our first marriage. We can return to college days. We can return to high school, adolescent. But most triggers take us back somewhere into childhood.
And figuring that out is going to be the tough part.
Yeah, and I've said this, and I'll say it again and again. Emotional regression can never be cured once and for all. It's a part of the human condition. We get triggered, we'll regress in direct proportion to how exhausted we are, how stressed we are, if we haven't eaten well and taken care of ourselves. These are likely to increase this phenomenon of regression. May I give a definition for it?
Please.
That will be handy, and I hope. Emotional regression is an unconscious and unintentional return to our history. It's not something that we mean to do. Somebody looks at us a certain way and we're gone. Somebody uses a particular tone of voice, we're gone. Somebody will say something innocuous, and yet it pushed our button so deeply we became a 4-year-old. So it's an unconscious, unintentional return to history, and it's a feeling of being small or little.
So we thought we might include you before we really get into the heart of it in our little exercise we called Fish elbe. It's an Arabic term that means to unleash your heart, to get it off your chest.
Oh, nice.
If you can participate if you want, but Corey and I usually do this at the beginning because I need to fish elbe about this, okay? All day long, I'm thinking about your book, and I'm thinking that there are so many things that I want to ask you that I'm going to sound selfish or that I'm taking over or that this is a personal session for me. So I needed to just apologize in advance if I feel like, because it's so interesting to me. So you guys, both of you, if I sound like I'm taking over, it's just because it's so fascinating to me.
Wow, thank you. Okay, we'll quit now. We'll just get in there.
Corey, what do you want to unleash?
Well,
Anything?
I want to say, too, that this topic fascinates me also. I have so many questions. But my fish elbe has to do with I got stuck in terrible traffic today, and I was so scared I was going to have to cancel because I wasn't going to make it home on time. But here I am.
And then we had technical stuff we might have all been canceling.
Yep.
Yeah.
But look, here we are.
Okay, John, do you want to unleash your heart before we begin? You don't get nervous. I can see it.
No, not really. I get a little nervous around the technology. Like, I'm not very smart technologically speaking. So I'm always 5-10 minutes early, and I can't quite figure out why I'm not getting the Zoom invitation. And so that's the thing that sort of makes me a little nervous. But luckily, it doesn't trigger me because I've done it for so long. And
Right.
it almost always comes out okay.
Let's start at the very beginning, though. This is supposed to be Corey's question, but I don't care. I'm starting. I told you I'm taking over, Corey. How did this all begin, and how did you come up with the concept?
I wrote this book. The book came out in 2001. And I started working on this phenomenon of emotional regression because, and then this is no exaggeration, once I identified this, I realized that I was in a regress state most of the time, that I was getting triggered right and left. And why are you looking at me like that? Why are you using that tone of voice with me? Why are you standing with your hands on your hips?
Oh my God, I could so relate.
I'm feeling 5 years old, and why that tone of voice makes me think I'm going to the principal's office. So what I said is that I realized I had what I call an occasional TMM, temporary moment of maturity. And the rest of the time, I was 6 or 12 or 19, So I took a deep dive into my own personal life and therapy, and I researched what little I could find on this topic.
Mm.
If you research emotional regression, you would not have seen anything in 2001 except my book. Now, there's a couple of things that have come out in the last 10 years. So I just knew I got to grow myself up, and I've got to get the tools to know how to do it. Because what I say in the book is, like I said, you can't cure it, but you can catch it before you do too much damage. And the more you practice catching it, the quicker you'll catch it that I'm leaving my adulthood. Scientifically and psychologically, emotion is the phenomenon where I leave my prefrontal lobe, my adult brain, and I go to my limbic brain. And in that limbic brain, I only have three options: fight, flight, or freeze. When people regress, and remember, regression loves company. If I'm going to regress, I'm going to take somebody with me.
Mhm.
Right.
But this is when couples and friends and employers, they're trying to communicate from the limbic brain, and it's not coming out too well because I can only fight you, flee from you, or freeze on you. I can't really articulate in an adult way what's going on with me.
So when you do an intensive or when you are training somebody, how often would you say it's like 90% of the time you can get to the real root of the regression?
Yes, somebody who's trained, yeah, I can usually get somebody says, John, every time I go home for the holidays, I become 9 years old again. What's that about? And I go, okay, give me 15, 20 minutes and we'll dig in. And it more often than not, it's something that we wish we had have said or done, or we wish somebody had have not said or done, and we've been carrying it in our bodies. Let me explain it this way. You're 4 years old. You're in the market with your mother, and a man in a black coat comes up to you and scares you while your mother's not looking. 40 years later, you'll be tired, you'll have a little bit of a fever, you hadn't eaten well that day, and in your office walks a woman in a black coat, and you can feel your body tense up. And you go, what's going on? Well, your body remembers everything. And you'll look at that person in the black coat and you'll be scared and you won't understand why. I'll tell you why. You went back to 4 years old.
Do we need to be looking at every single opportunity to erase it or to fix it?
Well, the more you do that, the fewer times you'll get triggered in the present and future. See, I remember one time my wife, she didn't know this was a trigger, but it was. When she'd get really angry, she would say, I hate you. And man, I would just tense up and freeze. And withdraw and shut down. And so I have this person that I trained. I said, listen, I need to figure out what's going on. And we did. And sure enough, it was a childhood thing that my mom would say to my dad when he was leaving, I hate you. And I thought, don't say that, Mom. He may not come back. So just hearing that phrase. So it's phrases, smells, pictures, and the more you unravel these, the less you'll regress. Yeah.
Okay, two things that I want to make sure we cover: sympathy versus empathy, and the fact that I may be giving people what it is that I did not get myself.
Yeah. We'll parent our adult children or even our small children in ways that we were parented or the opposite until we get new tools and new information. That's the only place to go. There's an old cliche, children don't take after strangers.
Right, that's so true.
Nobody's ever said, John, you remind me of that mailman that comes around here. No. You remind me of your dad. You remind me of your grandfather. You remind me of your uncle. So that's part of it. But also a regressive behavior is I'm going to try to impart to my son or daughter what I did not get. And in the process of doing that, it's kind of like the second best thing to not getting it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
I would like to talk about, I heard you speak about marriage and regression, and you did a little acting out scenario of what that might sound like, and how quickly, a logical adult-like conversation can fall away and not be very successful because one partner starts out regressing and then the other follows. Can you share that with us?
yeah, you're not hearing me. Oh, yes, I am. No, you're really not. Oh, yes, I am. I'm hearing you very well. No, you're not. These are two kids in kindergarten
Right.
in the
Right.
sandbox instead of two 40-year-olds.
John,
Why?
you've been in my house.
I was
I've
going
had
to say
that.
the same thing. Yeah.
People have been telling me that for decades. They go, have you got a video in my living room or something? So a big part of this, let me be clear, regressed people rage. Regressed people rage. So I'm gonna tell you 9 things that people do, not feel, do when they think they're telling somebody how they feel. These are the 9 regressive things that most people do once this limbic brain gets triggered: shaming, blaming, demeaning, demoralizing, criticizing, preaching, teaching, judging, and analyzing. And I'm just trying to tell you how I feel.
Mhm.
But that's all I do. That's all
right.
I do.
Oh, yeah. I remember one time I was teaching this to clinicians in Tennessee, and a guy said, this is what I do all day long. What am I going to say if I'm not doing these things? You're going to grow yourself back up. You're going to understand your triggers, and you're going to learn how to speak your feelings appropriately like an adult instead of a pissed off kid.
And it can go the other way too, because even if one person in the couple is speaking like an adult, the other person who's in a regressed state can hear it as shaming or
Yeah.
judgmental
Oh,
when it's
absolutely.
not.
Absolutely. Now, most of the time, I want to be really clear about this. Most of the time, the people who think they're being adult might be, but they might not. I'm going to
Mhm.
give some signs right now of how to know if you're regressing or you're in your adult place. Okay?
Mhm.
1, your body will tell you every time. You get knots in your stomach, or you start sweating profusely even though it's not hot. You get a dry mouth even though you're drinking water regularly. What do all public speakers have right at the podium? Why? Because, public
Yeah.
speaking and interviewing, it tends to be a little bit of a regressive act. One of the signs that people are in a regress state is time gets funny. time gets elongated or compressed, but time doesn't feel real. So, like, if you're hungry, tired, or lonely, and you're in the grocery line, and somebody says, "Would you mind if I go back and get some milk?" Well, 2 minutes feels like 20,
Right.
right? But when you're rested and you're in your adult state, oh, sure, take your time. I'm in no hurry because it's only going to take 2 minutes. So time gets elongated or shortened. You know, when people are first in love and dating, they start talking at 8 o'clock at night and they're still talking at 2 in the morning. and somebody say, where did the time go?
Right.
Same couple 6 years later, honey, can we talk? For how long? How long do we have to talk, honey?
It's so
Can we get this done in 10 minutes tops? So these are just some signs that's in the book that will tell you, if you're feeling small, little, or another way of thinking about it is feeling less than powerful. That in this setting over here, how your power, how you come across. And in this setting over here, you're perspiring and dry mouth and your heart's about to pop out of your chest.
But aren't we as humans always concerned a little bit with what other people think of us? Like, I tend to think that's a regressive state, worrying whether you like me or not. But don't we all care?
No, no.
No?
At a certain level, no.
There's something wrong with me.
No. It's just that there's still some work. Most of the people I'll give you a wonderful book to read. It's a short little book. It's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
You read it, right, Corey?
I know of it.
Oh.
And the second agreement, he says, is, quote, take nothing personally. Take nothing personally. Because most people aren't thinking about us. They're thinking about their life and their money issues and how their dress looks,
Right.
But really, we are a codependent nation, basically, and we are worried about everybody what they're going to think. I remember one time there was this woman. She said, "John, I need a technique because I'm going home from work and I get home and I take out the entire day on my family. I need to stop that. I yell at them. I argue with them." I said, well, on your way home, make sure your windows are rolled up and you just scream and yell and cuss and fuss before you get home. And so she called me back and she said, well, I did that the first day and it really worked. I was so calm when I got home, so grown up when I got home. And I said, well, okay, so what do you need? She said, I need another tool other than that one. I said, why is that? She said, because when I pull up to a red light, I'm screaming and yelling and I'm freaking this person out in the other car. And I said, who is that other person? She said, well, I don't know. And I thought, right there it is. She's more concerned about what this stranger may think than her husband and kids. And I thought, there it is.
Isn't that normal?
No, well, that's what we're doing here, Judy. That's why we're here. We're going to say it here. We're going to talk about all the things that make us feel small, all the things that scare us. And the more vulnerable we're able to be and honest, the more we're going to be able to lift each other up and grow ourselves back up.
And live from here more than here. See, it's my job to be up here in my neocortex, my adult brain. That's my responsibility. It's not your responsibility to get me up there, nor is it your fault if I go down here. All this is up to me. See, and again,
such a good way to look at it. I have to remember that.
Yeah, got to stay in your adult brain. Now, my ex-wife comes in from a women's meeting, and I said, so how was the meeting? And she said, oh, it was really good, but it stirred up a lot of stuff. I said, well, do you want to talk about it? And she said, not until I call my sponsor and grow myself back up. And then I'll want to share with you what came up. I go, great. Whereas years before, I'd go, why aren't you talking about it now? Was it something about me? Why aren't you willing to share now? No. Okay, that sounds good. And she comes back an hour later and she says, now I'm back in my adult. Let me tell you what happened at the women's meeting.
That sounds like you are the most evolved person that I think I've ever met in my life.
I'm
And
all
really,
looking an addict.
well, you got it.
Well,
Somehow you were able to come all this way. I don't
Listen,
think I
well,
could even.
listen, hon, $10 million worth of therapy, you got to
That'll
get
do it.
well at some point.
See, I'm trying to get it from you here for free. That's the
Nah,
thing, John.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Go,
John has
Cor.
written a bunch of books, and he
Yeah.
does it all from his personal experience. So
Okay.
that's one way. John, you want to talk to us a little bit about like the things you've grappled with and how, besides therapy, how you've come around to this evolved
Well,
in?
I've had mentors, I've had teachers, I've had therapists, I've had counselors. I've been to codependency treatment 3 times in the last 30 years. I went to Al Anon for 11 years, adult children of alcoholics. I've been in men's groups regularly for years and years. And literally, probably 20 years, I was in therapy. I mean, coming from my childhood, traumatic, oh my God, and alcoholic and abusive, I mean, I had to do a lot of work. I still do. I mean, I work on myself constantly. One of my preconditions for training therapists has always been the only way I'm going to train you extensively is if you commit to working on yourself for the rest of your life.
Wow.
So, I've written
That's
books on
work.
anger. Yeah,
Mhm.
anger, men's issues, relationships, creativity,
Mother-son
this
relationship.
mother-son stuff, father-son. Right
Hmm.
now, I'm writing a new book called The Odyssey of Aging, and the subtitle is Moving from Hero to Elder, and talking about what eldering looks like in our society at this day and time and what it doesn't look like at this day. So,
Do you find that people who are elderly just think, because I even sometimes get discouraged thinking, well, you know what? You're not teaching an old dog new tricks. This is how my brain is wired now. I can't go back.
yeah, yeah.
Is it harder for us?
Well, most people don't enter elderhood, they just get old. And old people's brains are not very pliable and not very malleable. But I'm 74 and I want to keep learning and growing and give me information. I mean, there's some downsides to this technology that we're using right now, but every evening I listen to a lecture. Sit after I walk my dog and eat dinner, I sit down and I just punch a lecture up and I go, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So, but what I'm
Right.
saying in this new book is most people in our culture just grow old and complacent. And that's partly because there's no elders to model.
How does somebody listening now find out more? Besides reading your book, how do they get to you?
Oh, that's easy. JohnLeeBooks.com.
Okay.
www.johnleebooks.com. I've been doing sessions on the internet since the virus. I do about 3 a day, 5 days a week.
You
Zoom,
do them on the
FaceTime.
internet?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Expect
yeah.
a call from me.
Okay.
John, what
Expect to
is
be
one
charged. Yeah,
checks in the
this
mail?
couple, this couple, this couple called me yesterday to interview me to see if they wanted to work with me. It was a funny little moment. I said, "Okay, is there any questions now you want to ask me?" And because I've been asking them questions, and she said, "Yeah, why do you still do this?" I said,
Oh,
"That's a good question." And I said, and the answer is because I need to, and I love it as much as I did the first year I did it. And I've been doing it for
Wow.
40 years. And I said, that's a great question. Why am I still doing this? Because I love it. It's fun.
And I have
We've
a
had fun.
mortgage. You
Yeah,
you
no,
are
no, no, I don't actually.
you are a
I,
lucky man,
yeah,
John.
yeah. About 7 months ago, I sold and or gave away 80% of my possessions because that's one thing that I'm teaching about elderhood. is to not be strapped and weighted down by things. And so I've bought and sold 4 or 5 houses over the years. So I'm renting a little cottage in Asheville, and that's furnished,
Oh,
and just working on my book and seeing my clients and talking to y'all.
I also heard you speak about how do we grow ourselves back up, and you talked about attention and
Empathy,
empathy, time,
time, contact,
contact,
and
and
release.
release. So,
Yeah, those are the 5 things that'll bring you out of a regressive state. Attention by someone who's not regressed. It has to be somebody who's still in their adult brain, even though you're feeling like you're 10 or 5. So attention that from somebody who's in their adult, because water seeks its own level. If you're in your adult place and I say to you, Corey or Judith, I'm regressing, I want to talk about what triggered me, and you give me attention, that may bring me out of it right there. Attention, time, giving me 15 minutes to talk, 20 minutes to talk can bring me out. Contact, eye-to-eye contact, face touching contact. What else did I say? Attention, empathy.
empathy.
Empathy is an important one. Empathy says, I understand some of what you're going through. That's what empathy is. Sympathy, and people get this confused all the time. Sympathy says, if you're sad, I'm sad. If you're angry, I'm angry. If
But you say that's
you're
wrong, John.
yeah. See, my job is not to carry your feelings in my body. My job
How
is
does a
to carry
child,
my.
a parent, not? That
Oh,
was
now
my
wait.
main
No,
issue.
a parent is supposed to sympathize with their small children, not their 30-year-old.
Hiding.
The 30-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 16-year-old, they're to learn how to carry their own emotions and how to articulate them. Now, mothers have this hard time not feeling what their son or daughter feels. By 13 to 16 years old, the mother and father should move from feeling their son or daughter's feelings and support the son or daughter to feel their feelings. Now, don't get me wrong. If my son's heart is broken by his girlfriend, but I'm not going to take that into my body. I'm going to stay in my neocortex and I'm going to say to him, son, what can I do? What would you like for me to
Right.
do? Would you like for me to listen? But if he's crying and I'm crying, nobody's getting real help. Nobody's really getting
Right.
support. So empathy says, son, I know some of what you're going through. I was a young man when I had my heart broken, and I kind of understand what you're going through. Now, you just tell me what you need. I'm not going to tell you what I needed at 16, see, because you and
Right.
I aren't the same. I'm going to listen to you individually say what you're going through, knowing I understand some of what you're going through.
That's a tough trick to separate.
Oh, it's very
Yes.
tough.
And can you give us one simple practice that we could do, like a quick fix, or it doesn't work that way?
oh, do you mean, Judy, if you feel yourself regressing?
Yeah.
The quickest thing that anybody can do, and it sounds so simple because it is if you notice that you're slipping into this unconscious place, this regressive place, just start breathing deep breaths. Just take deep breaths. If you can't do anything else, you can always do that.
Well, John, we enjoyed talking to you so much, and we cannot thank you enough for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Y'all are fun.
It's really been
You're fun, and I'm going to be counseling Judith for the next 2 years.
You see how messed up I am. I really need to talk to you. Really,
You're
thank you.
going to be fine. I want to thank you both for having me and having a good sense of humor and us able to get some stuff out there that somebody might find useful.
That's right. So until the next time, skip perfection.
Choose connection. We're not perfect.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a rating and a 5-star review. It really helps other people find the show. If you want to connect with us more, find us at Say It Here Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Say It Here is sponsored by Safe Parenting. The show is hosted and executive produced by us, Judy Franco and Corey Adjmi. Production and editing support is done by the team at Resonate Recordings. We'll see you in the next episode.